So if there is a fire, an extremely unlikely event, then please exit straight out this door here, to my right, your left, into the car park. Toilets are behind you, again to my right, your left, and down that corridor over there. Welcome to this, the Green Party's first major priority for the 2020 general election. We are nearing the end of the Green Party's first ever term in government. And we are asking New Zealanders to give us another. We have shown people what we can do when we're in government. Just in the last 7 days, we put climate change back into the Resource Management Act. Our huge overhaul of the emissions trading scheme became law, and we doubled the size of the Maui dolphin protected areas. Now, that is just the last 7 days. We've made restoring our natural heritage the centrepiece of the government's post-COVID recovery program. We put $1.3 billion into our Jobs for Nature program, and what that means is that somewhere between 11 and 13,000 people who have been displaced by the pandemic crisis will be able to go to work, keep the roof that's over their head, and put food on the table for their families. Welcome. Now, the truth is that the vast inequalities of our economy may be easier to see now and are being experienced by more families now, but they existed long before COVID-19 came to New Zealand. So if we truly want to build back better this time, then we have to deal with the underlying conditions of inequality and environmental degradation that for decades our economy has made worse. Then, and only then, can every part of our economy go to work to create prosperity that is more equitable, more resilient, and more restorative of the natural world that we depend on for our very survival. And that brings me to today's announcement. We have an opportunity to reimagine a world post-COVID-19 that is fairer and where everyone has what they need. Today we take the first step on that vision with the launch of our first major priority for the election campaign and for our second term in government. So thank you for being a part of that, whether you're here in the community centre here in GI with us, or if you're watching on the live stream at home around the country. It is now my absolute pleasure and privilege to introduce my co-leader of the Green Party, Marama Davidson.
Mā te oranga o te taiao, kaura ai te iwi, mō te takitini, kaore mō te toru anake. Nei rā taku mihi tuatahi ki a koe e te kōka o te ao. Korua ko te matua ki runga rā, me o tamariki katoa, huri noa i te Aotearoa, ko papa, ko rangi, ko ngā atua katoa, tēnā koutou. Ki ngā tūpuna hei takoto te ara tika mō tātou te iwi o Naia nei, tēnei te mihi kia koutou. E rere haere ana ngā mihi ki te mana whenua o tēnei rohe. Ki ngā hapu me ngā iwi o tāmaki makaurau, tēnā koutou mō tō koutou manaakitanga i tēnei wā. Huri noa kia koutou, kua whakarauika mai nei i tēnei rā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. And thank you, James, for that introduction. Thank you all to those who came before us whose mahi made it possible for me to be standing here on this incredibly important and exciting day. And thank you to every single person in this room. Got my family in the front row. I am truly grateful that you've all made the time to come here and hear about the Green Party's vision for Aotearoa. A vision I and my party cannot wait to share with you, and I'm so pleased the time has finally come to do so. 2020 has thrown up some new challenges. It has been hard for many of us, and I'm sure you've felt it. COVID-19 has shone a glaring light on the holes in our social safety net and the enormous task ahead of filling in those gaps. But across the country, we all stepped up to the urgent challenges. We pulled together as communities across Aotearoa. We've seen our ability to work together, that we can get stuff done. We've shown that we can make decisions from a point of caring for each other. We've remembered how important connection is and how much we miss the little things, like having a cup of tea with your nan when you haven't been able to do so. And perhaps most importantly, we've remembered that our collective, nation right across Aotearoa, is only as strong as each person in it. When I reflect on our response to this crisis, I can see no better example of success than how our community groups mobilised throughout Aotearoa. For example, the way marae and health providers kicked into action to feed people, to console the scared, to house those without one. But their mahi wasn't just a COVID response. That's what community does. They support people however they can. No questions, just action. Helping people by giving them what they need when they need it. And I've literally been in my local drop-in centre in Manurewa, stocking kai in the pantry out the back, and someone's come running in and said, "There's someone out here with 3 tamariki who needs help." And you just grab a box of kai and get it out there. Because people are doing their best with what little they have. Those who have lost their income, all are worthy of support. We need everyone to be doing well, to be living dignified lives. It's about manaakitanga and it's about compassion. Among Indigenous peoples, there is a wisdom that says we should always act, plan for a world 7 generations from now. That all our decisions, our communities, our safety net should enable future generations to thrive. And this is a belief I hold close to my heart when I consider the best way for Aotearoa to reset from this challenging time in our history. We must think ahead. We must act now. Because if we do, we can have the Aotearoa all of us deserve. We can have a country where everyone gets a fair go, where wealth is shared between all of us and not just with a few. Now, many of us have struggled as a result of COVID-19, but we all know many have been struggling for a long time. People were lining up for food grants before we went into lockdown. The impossible trade-offs between paying the rent or paying the bills are not new. Successive governments backed the wealthy few at the expense of everyone else. They made decisions that put children into poverty and kept families desperate and struggling. The people in power designed complex and punitive systems with racism and discrimination built in to keep incomes low, to keep people in constant financial stress, to limit our options in life. So families are getting sick in cold, damp homes, and kids are going to school hungry. In a country that produces more food than we can ever eat, some adults are skipping meals so there's enough left over for children. Employers kept wages low and successive governments backed them. And because all of this, for many in New Zealand, it doesn't matter how hard you try or how well you budget, it's simply not possible to make ends meet. People are doing their best with what little they have, but it's still not enough. We can fix this, and we will. Because I want my great-great-great-great-grandchildren to inherit an Aotearoa where everyone can have a good life. Which is why today I am incredibly proud and excited to announce the Green Party's Poverty Action Plan. A genuinely transformational plan that means we can all live with dignity even in the hard times, because we must remove the barriers to prosperity. We must close the gap between the rich and the rest, because people should get the help they need without being interrogated, because a Tinder date shouldn't cost you your rent. Our Poverty Action Plan will replace our outdated, unfair and unlivable welfare system with real, unconditional support for all of us. The government has a duty to look after people. And to do this, the Green Party will introduce a guaranteed minimum income. This is a minimum amount for everyone not in full-time paid work. It will replace all working age core benefits, including the student allowance. The guaranteed minimum income would provide anyone out of work with at least $325 a week after tax. And if you're one of the increasing number who work part-time, you would still get help. And if you've got tamariki or live with a disability, you'll get more. So you don't have to make the impossible choice between rent, power and groceries. On top of that, we will provide a family support credit, $190 a week for the eldest child and $120 a week for their younger siblings. If you are a sole parent, you will also receive an additional $110 a week to recognise the incredibly difficult and important task of raising children on a single income. That's shoes, full lunch boxes, school trips and birthday cakes. Supporting families through their babies' precious first years is one of the most important things we can do as a country. Our Poverty Action Plan also increases the Best Start payment to $100 per week for each child under 3. That's nappies, car seats, and ever bigger baby clothes. Our Poverty Action Plan also completely replaces the inconsistent, confusing and unfair way we treat people who are sick or have disabilities. With the Greens in government, ACC will be reformed into an Agency for Comprehensive Care. When we're sick or hurt, we need support. We deserve compassion. So it doesn't matter what caused the injury or what the illness is. When people need help, we will give it. The Agency for Comprehensive Care will support people who are injured or sick with at least 80% of the full-time minimum wage or up to 80% of the salary of the job they had to leave, whichever is higher. When people are sick, injured, or have a disability, our first question should be, how can we help? Gone will be the days when people are asked to provide humiliating proof again and again and again. Our guaranteed minimum income gives people the help they need when they need it. That's the kind and the right thing to do. Whenever you get sick, whether you start a new relationship, whether you want to go to university, support is guaranteed. We won't make you feel like a burden for asking for help. We have enough for everyone to live with dignity. But the system is rigged, so a few have more than they will ever need, while far too many will always struggle. It is time to change this. This is about sharing what we have. And so, to fund this, those with a lot of wealth will pay it forward. If you're a millionaire, for the wealth you have over that $1 million, you will pay a 1% contribution. That will increase to a 2% contribution for a wealth over $2 million. There will also be 2 new income tax brackets for those earning over $100,000 and $150,000. So this will apply to the richest in Aotearoa. This is about creating a society where we can all move forward, not just the wealthiest few. So let's take some examples. Aroha is 19 and has been working full-time at a cafe since she left school at 16. When she's made redundant, she decides she wants to do something different, but doesn't quite know what. Thanks to the guaranteed minimum income, Aroha has enough money to keep paying her rent. She has the financial security she needs to plan her next steps, instead of working in one insecure job after another for several years. Aroha thinks about her options for a few weeks, and she becomes interested in solar panels. I know. So she decides to train to become an electrical engineer. Our guaranteed minimum income supports Aroha to meet her immediate needs and plan for the future. Here's an example of how our Agency for Comprehensive Care would work. Brian earns $25 an hour working full-time in a warehouse, stacking shelves and packing deliveries. He is diagnosed with cancer shortly after his 60th birthday. Thanks to the Agency for Comprehensive Care, Brian can take as much time off as he needs and be paid 80% of his salary while he goes through chemotherapy. On his first day of leave, Brian feels a huge sense of relief that he can focus on his health and spend precious time with his grandchildren. Brian is sick for the next 3 years, but eventually recovers. However, he is no longer able to do physical work and gets tired much more quickly than he used to. He talks to his caseworker at the Agency for Comprehensive Care, and they agree he will continue to be eligible for the higher rate of support until he turns 65 and starts getting New Zealand superannuation. At every step of the way, Brian's health is the priority. The system has been out of balance for so long. Our Poverty Action Plan is a first step to set things right. We've talked a lot about compassion and kindness over the last few months. We've seen a lot of it too. Recently, many more people turned to the social safety net for the first time in their lives. People needed help, and many realised that it's just not enough. Not only is it not enough, the process of getting help is difficult, dehumanising, and anything but kind. When we think about our Poverty Action Plan, I ask us all to remember a time when you needed help. When we've found ourselves a bit short some weeks, or maybe suddenly without an income. When we've asked family and friends for help. Because what COVID-19 has shown us is that we never know when we might need help. And when we ask for it, it should be there. We need a guaranteed minimum income that people can live on. Because, and I say this again, when someone reaches out, our first response should be to help, not to interrogate them or demand that they prove their desperation. Because when a family member turns up at the door, you don't ask for receipts or question why they're there. You put the kettle on, give them a kai, and show manaki. It does not matter why you need help. All that counts is that we are all supported. I mentioned before the Indigenous tradition of planning 7 generations in advance. That's what our Poverty Action Plan does. It helps to create a more inclusive Aotearoa, where all of us have what we need to live a good life. By empowering people now, by simply supporting people to look after themselves and their family, we are protecting future generations. We are moving further and faster to dismantle generations of systemic poverty and create a country where we can all live with dignity. Our Poverty Action Plan is about Aotearoa looking after each other. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.